Sometimes it's not so much as a pivot that we need to do as it is we just need to stop. We are not always so happy or accepting when things change from what we expect them to be. Bells, lights, sounds, the whole nine yards. Long story short, my car went into limp mode. I realized that in my 40 some years, I don't think I've ever had a car towed before. So now I can, mark that off of my September bingo card.
Welcome to the Wing Space Podcast, a place to take up space, where we talk about all things wellness, from nutrition to movement to sleep and stress, and so much more. With me, your host, Jennifer Voorhaar, along with special guests and experts within our Hope and Healing wellness community. Let's jump in.
This podcast is not a replacement for mental health treatment or professional health care. In case of crisis or emergency, please contact your local healthcare provider or dial 911.
I'm Jen, and if you are in any stage of menopause, perimenopause, or otherwise, you are going to want to listen up because I am about to tell you how you can spend 90 minutes a week working with a nutritionist, a therapist, that's me, and a pelvic floor physical therapist for less than what you just dropped at the grocery store. You're going to want to jump into our second 6-week series of The Flame, where we are taking on menopause with power, pride, and purpose. We meet once a week for 90 minutes, 6 Tuesdays in a row, starting September 16th. We get started with Carlin for 40 minutes of low impact movement. It is curated for strengthening, lengthening, and targeting the pelvic floor. We move on to Fueling Up with Tracy, who brings with her a bounty of nutrition support, supplemental education, and a closer look at body composition and weight management. Then we close each session chatting with me, a licensed therapist, and your fellow group members for discussion on the impacts of menopause on mental health and an opportunity to connect with your fellow community members. Now, if you're watching this before September 8th, you are in luck because our early bird registration is open and Flame enrollment is available for $179. Yeah, that's it. Less than $30 a session, 6 sessions with 3 wellness experts. And we are anticipating this series to sell out, so you better not delay. Share this post with someone that you would love to bring along with you and visit our profile for the link to sign up.
And welcome to the Wing Space Podcast, a place to take up space. I'm your host, Jennifer Voorhaar, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about flexibility and rigidity and how to see schedule changes as opportunities rather than obstacles. Before I jump into the content, though, I want to ask you to like and subscribe to this channel wherever you might be listening to the podcast, because as you do that, it helps us to reach more people and share health and wellness content. So we really appreciate you doing that. For those of you that are viewing this podcast on YouTube, you're going to notice that my space behind me looks a little bit different. And that's part of my message today is flexibility. There's been lots and lots of changes happening at Hope and Healing. We've had some new staff. We've had some staff changes. We've had folks go virtual. We've had folks come back to us. We've had some interns, new services, lots of great stuff. Here's a plug. hopehealingtherapy.com. Go to our website, check it out. Go to our socials, check it out. There's so much going on. But with that comes some moving and shifting. And so if you have already seen our first episode of season 6, then you'll see that I had yet another change in my scenery because I was recording from my office, which is now in our Prince Frederick location. But today I'm working out of our Leonardtown location and I don't actually have an office. So shout out to Sherry and Shep for letting me use their space today. And it is a huge shout out also to my own personal clients who see me because they have been super flexible with me coming into the Leonardtown office once or twice a week. And we're in a different office every time because I'm kind of office hopping to allow the staff to have a home base that they're not the ones that are jumping all around. So shout out to my own personal clients because they're rock stars. We are not always so happy or accepting when things change from what we expect them to be. I'm recording this episode the beginning of September. Kids have gone back to school. Schedules are filling up fast. There's fall sports, there's homework, there's activities, there's all kind of stuff going on. And as the schedule changes, we don't always allow ourselves the flexibility when things change, right? We sometimes hold ourselves to the rigidity of that schedule. And the reality is, it's going to change. Kids' schedules are going to change. What you had planned for dinner is going to change because of those schedule changes. And we can look at it as an obstacle or we can look at it as an opportunity. I'm going to give you a personal example of something that just happened this week that I could have seen as an obstacle, but instead it turned out to be an opportunity. And in the moment, I just kind of took a breath and it became what it was. So let me share this story with you. I have a handful of friends that we from high school that we still stay in touch, and we try to get together for dinner once a month. And last night was supposed to be the night that we were going to get together for dinner. And yesterday morning, I looked at my schedule and I was like, wow, my to-do list is so long. I've got so much going on. We're heading out of town later this week. It just wasn't going to work. So I sent the ladies a message and I was like, hey, sorry to do this, but I got to bail tonight. And then one or two others were like, oh, I'm sick, or oh, I'm not going to make it. And so long story short, we decided to change our night and meet next week. So great, right? Now I have a free night to get things done because, again, really long to-do list. I leave work, jump in my car, text my husband, say I'm headed home, turn my car on, bells, lights, sounds, the whole 9 yards. Long story short, my car went into limp mode. It's a 2025, low miles. Something went with the technology. And so I texted my friends and I was like, hey, glad we moved it to next week because otherwise I'd be super disappointed I was missing it. And one thing that was on my list yesterday that I had not had a chance to do yet was go for a walk. So I took care of all the roadside assistance stuff. The little app told me how long it was going to be till the tow truck got there. It was about the same time before my husband was going to get there to pick me up. And so I was like, you know what? Let's walk. It was a beautiful afternoon and I just walked laps in the parking lot at work until the tow truck guy came, which actually worked out to the benefit because he went to the wrong entrance of our building and I happened to be at the end of the drive and was able to wave him down. And so he could quickly just back up and then come into where he needed to be. Opportunity. The other thing that happened was I was planning to make spaghetti for dinner last night. And by the time all of this happened and we got home, I was like, this is a leftovers clean out the fridge night instead. And one of our sons was at work. And so it was just going to be three of us. And it worked out for leftovers. So now we have the opportunity to have our spaghetti dinner, family dinner tonight when all four of us are home before my husband and I head out of town for a couple days. So this obstacle, I won't even get into the deal with the car, but this obstacle turned out to be an opportunity. And it all started with this idea that we learn as children that sometimes we forget to implement as adults. And it's this idea that we stop, we think, and we make a good choice, right? We've talked to kids before about this. It's the whole idea of like, think before you speak. So in that moment, I took some deep breaths. I thought about what I had to do. I problem solved it. And then I thought, I can make the best of this opportunity, which is go for my walk. I got about 20-ish, 25 minutes in, just walking circles in the parking lot. And here we have a cleaned out fridge and leftovers are gone. And an opportunity for that family dinner tonight. Or I could have made a not so good choice and I could have been crabby and rude and frustrated and disappointed, and you fill in the negative words and that's what it could be. I could have been rude to the tow truck driver was so nice. I realized that in my 40 some years, I don't think I've ever had a car towed before. So now I can, mark that off of my September bingo card, which didn't know it was in there. He was so nice. He was so kind. We chatted. Husband got there, picked me up, whatever. I could have turned that into a really rotten evening with the way that I thought about it, the way that I responded, the way I was talking to myself, my internal dialogue, the way I treated other people. I'm not saying this as a shout out to myself because I certainly have had times where I did not make such great choices and I didn't pivot so well. Those of you that have watched Friends and the episode where they're trying to get the couch up the stairs and it's the whole pivot, 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 and they're all pivoting in different directions in different ways, and that couch is not going up those stairs. Sometimes it's not so much as a pivot that we need to do as it is we just need to stop and rethink it. Maybe we're not getting that couch up those stairs, but what can we do instead? So, just a quick little message today to ask you to consider, where can you include the idea of stop, think, and make a good choice in order to look at changes in your schedule as opportunities instead of obstacles? It's all about mindset. It truly is about mindset. If we instantly go to the negative and we instantly go to that negative self-talk, we're going to just spiral. But if we use that idea of stop, think, and make a good choice, then we're going to give ourselves a minute to take a few deep breaths, to consider our opportunities instead of the obstacles, and hopefully make a better day out of that schedule change. I remember when my kids were little and let's say they had practice and it rained and then practice gets canceled. And man, was that an opportunity, right? Because now we don't have to run all over the place. I can actually make dinner. We have time for homework, right? So that turned into a huge opportunity. However, if come Saturday morning it rains and that football game or two football games gets canceled, now I have a whole Saturday, a rainy Saturday at that, where I got to entertain my kiddos. Well, opportunity, right? I remember one Saturday when my kids were little that happened and one of my sons said, "Does that mean we get to have a veggie day?" Well, that was our way of saying we're just going to veg out. We're just going to be on the couch, we're going to stay in our PJs, we're going to just veg out, we're going to watch movies, we're just going to be. So often we aren't putting ourselves in a position to just be. There's this idea that we have to go, go, go. We're overscheduling, we're entertaining, we're including activities in everything. What happened to just hanging out, right? We have lost our ability, I believe. We've lost our ability to entertain ourselves when we're bored. We can find that. We can find it. We just have to be intentional about it. And we have to make sure that our way is not using our cell phones and scrolling social media, because the slippery slope, right? When all of a sudden we're doom scrolling because we're bored because that thing got canceled and now we don't have anything to do. Or what if that thing didn't get canceled and we're doom scrolling and we're wasting time and we should or need to be doing that other thing or getting ready for that other thing? Shameless plug for using screen time on our phones and our devices that remind us of our screen time usage and remind us and even lock us out of apps and such so that we don't just doom scroll. Our kiddos don't really know how to entertain themselves, and we as adults are turning into adults that don't really know how to entertain ourselves either. I mean, I used to go outside and play fort in the woods with my friends, and we didn't actually have a fort. We just used tree limbs and branches, and then the leaves on the ground were the walls of our fort, and they were only like 6 inches tall, but they were walls. You couldn't walk through them. You had to walk around in the doorway, which was a tree. But how many of our kiddos are going outside and entertaining themselves by making forts in the backyard? Or we used to play this game where we rode our bikes up and down the street, and if you made a turn, you had to put your blinker on. So as you were riding on your bicycle, you would have to go blinker, 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 and turn into wherever you were going. Fun ways to entertain ourselves. Those were really fun opportunities. Those of you that are old enough probably remember playing kickball in the middle of the road in your neighborhood, and then a car would come and everybody would yell, "Car!" And then you'd move out of the way, and then the car would go by, and then we'd, game on. So as we fill our schedules with activities and events and entertaining each other, when things fall through, we lose that skill, or maybe we have lost that skill to be able to pivot, to be flexible, to see opportunities instead of obstacles. I invite you to consider, use your brain in a different way. Stop and think and make a good choice. Use your time wisely. Learn how to be bored. Take up a new skill. Maybe one of these days I'm going to use the knitting needles and the yarn that I bought with a Christmas gift card like 3 Christmases ago. If anybody knows how to knit and they want to teach me, I'm happy to learn. I just haven't figured it out. But we have to be able to see opportunities where they are. So this fall, I invite you, see those changes in your schedule as opportunities. Make the best of it, because our mindset can change everything. We can see everything as half full. We could see everything as half empty. We could see the sky as gray instead of just slightly cloudy with blue skies behind it. It's all about our mindset. So I encourage you, stop, think, make a good choice. Obstacles into opportunities. Again, this was just a quick little note. I hope it was maybe just a nugget to help encourage you this fall as we go into a busy season. It's actually my favorite season, but it's still a very busy season. Fall leads into the holidays. Again, very busy season. Thanks for listening. If you found this to be valuable, or if you know someone who might find this valuable, share this episode with them, encourage them to listen, and maybe they'll get a nugget or two of good info to take with them. So thanks again for listening and have a great day.